What is up, guys? Welcome to the video. My name is Wyatt, and today we'll be going over my small collection of motorcycles that I currently have in my garage, the way they sit. I don't know if some of these will leave or some of these will go, or I'll buy new ones at some point, but this is just how it currently sits. So with that being said, let's get right into it. Okay, so starting off today's video, we're actually taking a look at a bike that isn't mine, so that way I feel better about my bad decisions. This is my girlfriend's second motorcycle she's ever owned. This is a KTM Duke 390. If you don't know about these bikes, they're a single cylinder thumper. They're a pretty cool bike. She's done a couple of modifications to this one, but it is currently for sale. So if you guys want it, let me know. But yeah, let's go over this bike first. Fuck, did they make these things so high up? Going into this KTM 390, this is a 2022 model. It only has 2,400 miles on it. It's got a couple extra add-ons, including the engine cover and a Akrapovic carbon exhaust. It also has cool bar end mirrors that are way better than the stupid ant antenna and mirrors that come off these. It also has all of the orange removed off of it, and instead there is bubblegum pink all the way around. Now this is just vinyl wrap and can be taken off in about 2 minutes time, but I like it because it looks cool and is different, so I leave it on. But yeah, that is this bike. If you're interested in purchasing it, it is currently for sale. Please buy it and get it out of my garage. But it sits up here in the corner. It doesn't get ridden. And yeah, that is the 2022 KTM Duke 390. Fun fact, before I actually got into motorcycles, I wanted one of these, but I never purchased one. So I kind of get to ride this one every now and then, and I can relive my dreams of when I first wanted a motorcycle. On to the next bike. Moving on to the second bike in my garage that's also not my bike. This is a 2015 Ducati Scrambler. Now this bike actually was my bike. About 2 years ago, I purchased this motorcycle from a female that had basically neglected it for a year. It sat, she rode it every now and then, but the chain was slacked. It needed a good detailing. A couple of refreshments, so I bought the bike, I refreshed it and everything, and I actually sold it to my girlfriend before she was my girlfriend. So now the bike is back in my garage 2 years later, and in between that time, this bike originally is yellow, the really bright Ducati Scrambler yellow that I don't know why they made it that color, but it is that color. It was originally that color, and then I had it wrapped by Excel Wraps in Charlotte in green and Nazatech, British Racing Green, or whatever the name of the film is. I thought it looked really cool. I'll throw a photo up of it. But then my girlfriend purchased it from me, like I said, before she was my girlfriend, and now we have this. It is now satin black base, covering the yellow with Porsche PTS Ruby Star Red vinyl wrap, as the secondary for pink. My girlfriend really likes pink, so she always has it on her bikes. And I think it actually works pretty well on the Ducati Scrambler. Honestly, when she first did it, I was like, but now that I see it, it's really not that bad. I love this bike. I think these Scramblers are extremely underrated, and I think if you are looking for a first motorcycle or second motorcycle, I highly recommend one of these. You can pick one of these up used for about $4,000 to $6,000 with low miles. The Desmo service on these is 7,000 miles, but honestly, you're only putting about 1,000 miles a year. Most people do on a bike, so you pick one of these up for 2,000 to 3,000 miles at $5,000 to $6,000. You can have this bike for a very long time. They're very reliable. They're fun to ride, and they can have sweet off-road tires if you do want to put those on. One thing about this bike that it also has that isn't currently being shown is when I owned it, I put a Leo Vance exhaust on the other side. That was for sale on Revzilla, so shout out Revzilla. I bought one of those, threw it on here, and it really makes this bike sound very rowdy. If you want a bike that sounds kind of like a Harley Davidson and deep, but once it gets into the high revs, it sounds like a Ducati or a sport bike, this is the bike for you. It is 800cc, and yeah, it's a really fun motorcycle. Highly recommend. But yeah, that's the second bike in my garage. That's not my bike, but we're getting to my bikes next. I don't know how I'm gonna do this. My pants don't allow me to get my leg up that high. So moving on to the first bike in my collection, that's actually mine, that's sitting in my garage. This is my newest purchase. This is my Ducati Monster 821. This is a 2018 bike with the awesome cool safety pack. which means it has ABS. But it's yellow, as you can see. This bike sat neglected for 9 months in a dealership because no one wanted it because it was yellow. So I came along and rescued it, and I gotta say, it's probably one of my favorite motorcycles I have ever owned. I actually sold my Yamaha FZ07 and my 2018 Ducati Scrambler to go ahead and purchase this bike because it was a good cross in between. It's a street bike, and it's, you know, Italian, so what's a better bike to have? Also, too, the Monsters have a really good past with my friends. I know my friends have put a lot of mileage on them, so I figured why not give one a try. Now, this bike right here does have a few modifications. Let me walk you through them. We got Ducati Performance rear blinkers and front blinkers. Same thing, but they're done right. The wires are actually put on properly. And it's got a sweet carbon exhaust. Now, this bike actually didn't have a carbon exhaust. Originally, it had a GRP or GPR or whatever the fuck the name of their company is, silencer exhaust, but whoever purchased a Ducati from that dealership said they wanted to switch the exhaust off the bike, so they got the silencer one, and I got the cool, sweet, loud one. Now, I don't know if it's going to stay on the bike because I might switch it for an SC Projects, but as of right now, I like it. It sounds cool. I've only owned this bike for about 3 weeks, and I've put about 300 miles on it. So with that being said, I think it's a great purchase. I don't regret the purchase. I know they're extremely reliable, and that's my 821. This is the bike that I probably will ride the most this year and just load mileage on. So yeah. So I know no one cares, but I'm going to tell you anyway because they're in the video. This is a box of parts for my 2018 Scrambler that I sold to someone that I owe them and I have to give it to them. And this is a OEM exhaust for a Ducati 996 that's actually sitting right over there that we're going to get to. But yeah, that's what these boxes are. I also forgot to mention that the Monster has frame sliders. That's the first bike I've ever owned that has frame sliders, so that's cool. So moving on to the next item on our list. This is my beloved Ducati 748. This is my favorite motorcycle I own. I've owned it for 6 months now. I purchased the bike sight unseen from Chillicothe, Ohio. I sent the guy the money, and he sent me a motorcycle. It runs really good. This entire bike has been entirely rebuilt by the guy who is an ex-master Ducati mechanic, rider, something special with credentials. But yeah, this entire bike has been rebuilt from the frame up. I have a bunch of photos of the restoration. The motor's been completely torn apart, but it's a pretty sweet-ass motorcycle. I paid what I believe is very below market value. It has 12,600 miles on it, but I've personally put on about 500 miles since I bought this bike 6 months ago. This is my favorite motorcycle, and I'm not going to go too into detail because I'm going to make a whole separate video called A Love Letter to My 748, and it's going to be a whole story behind this bike because this bike has a really cool story. But yeah, that is my favorite motorcycle in my collection, my Ducati 748. On to the next bike. Moving on to the next one, as far as special stories go, I don't think it gets as special as this motorcycle right here. This is my one owner Ducati 996 that currently sports 4,453 miles. I purchased this bike from a dealership that I actually got my Ducati Monster from, and I bought this bike. It was one owner. The guy had it since new, and it lived in Concord, North Carolina. I bought it. Now it stays in Charlotte, North Carolina with me. I've put about 50 miles on this bike since I bought it a month ago, 2 months ago now, and this bike has a crazy story on it. And I will definitely go and make a video about this bike in particular because it's very interesting and this bike alone can make up a whole video. That'll also be another video called My Love Letter to My 996. This is a Ducati 996. It's nothing special. It's not a 996S or anything cool like that. But it is a 4,000 mile 996. A lot of people don't understand these bikes or don't know the heritage or anything about these motorcycles, but to me, the 996 and 748 and this year of bike, oh, by the way, these are both 2000s, are very special. And yes, both of these motorcycles are older than me, but I care greatly for them, and I think these bikes are extremely important because this is really where Ducati got a lot of its modern day heritage, I feel like, and the design of these bikes is just, it's beautiful. Everyone knows these are like the most beautiful motorcycles ever built, so I truly love having them, and they are definitely a huge part of my collection. With that being said, like I said, I will go more in depth into this specific bike and the 748 in separate videos. But yeah, that's kind of my bike collection. I also forgot to mention that this bike, the sticker on the front that says fastboys.net is from 2001, and it also still has a 2001 registration from when the owner first registered it. But yeah, this bike is 100% OEM except the Aero exhaust and the CRG levers, which I might switch out here at some point back to the original levers. But yeah, it's got the aftermarket aero exhaust, and like I showed you before, I have the original in the box over there. So that's my 996. Because the video said all the bikes I own, I am just going to throw this in there too, because I know someone's going to ask about it. This is a 2022 Specialized stunt jumper that I completely ripped from a girl on Facebook Marketplace. I paid like $1,000 for this bike, and it only had like 3 hours on it. And all I've done to this bike is put new brakes on it, and I've absolutely been ripping this thing as I got into mountain biking. So yeah, that's my mountain bike that currently sits here too. On to the last bike. So I actually had to come inside my house to show off the last bike that I own. This bike lives in my living room. This is my first motorcycle I ever purchased in October 3 years ago. This is a 2019 Honda Grom 125. If you've never ridden a Honda Grom, I'm sorry for you. This is my favorite motorcycle I have ever owned. This is the bike that got me into bikes. I only ever actually wanted to own a Honda Grom, fun fact. I never wanted any other motorcycle. I only wanted a Honda Grom. Like, no other bike ever was interesting to me. The Honda Grom is all I ever wanted. I bought this bike. I rode the piss out of it for the first year. And I actually met my girlfriend because of this bike. And I've truly fallen in love with this motorcycle more than anything in this world. It lives in my house just to give me more room in my garage. And it's super easy to get out the front door. But yeah, this is my Honda Grom 125. It's got about 2,500 miles on it. Modifications include one little tiny mirror on the left because I like having only one mirror on my bikes. A Vance & Hines exhaust like all the cool Harley guys have. And my favorite modification that this bike has is a sweet bicycle bell that my brother got me for Christmas one year, because what else could you possibly want on such a sweet little bike?
I really hope that you guys enjoyed today's video, going over my awesome sweet bike collection. If you want more videos and you want to see my motorcycles and cool stuff like Italian bikes and other things, make sure to, I guess, subscribe and go follow me on Instagram, Wyatt Lamont. But with that being said, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I want to thank you for making it this far in the video. And if you did make it this far in the video, comment McLaren Senna. Alright, sweet. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.